ako. Amen. Ako. Amen. Aso je wa gbe nkome. Wogbe nkome. Wogbe nkome. Aso je wa gbe nkome. Wogbe nkome.
Culture.
Okay, time for arts and culture, and time to bring on the man called Cinergy, Bismark Appiah Cinergy. Nana, I don't know.
Yes, sir. I ignore kakra.
Sharp.
I had a body and you.
Pepe. Now, and then I will.
Okay, and then I have an interesting conversation. I share on art and culture. I think Yedi can your first one. I know the sure say it speaks about Africa and your friend any kind. Actually, now the announce so more of us entertainment kakrani the side news in that so about it so. I know the 1 week gospel musician Yaw Sarpong. It happened on the 19th February. That was the last week. Yeah, and then a home sense someone. Yeah, started with the first one. And no, a country in Africa. Now it speaks in volume about them. The name as Ubia name, but we don't give much respect to because we think when it's about Africa, it has to be certain countries to be. If it's about traveling to different countries for greener pasture, it has to be the Western land, But Ethiopia is giving us a new face in Africa. It's about time I was speaking about it. Now a source of inspiration to some of the African leaders. If they are sleeping now, they have to look at the footsteps of those leaders, Now or rekindle their vibe and their leadership skills. No muhuni say a black man is capable of managing his own affairs now. Or Sergeant Dr. Kwame Nkrumah Ekaye on the 1957, the day and all declared Ghana's independence, It wasn't just a fluke. No one can it just by words. But he knew, definitely there should be some people I would say Omuteki the country's future, their affairs into their own hands. Now Omopushi. He say, mine as a black man, we have something to offer to our own people. Ethiopia, and this is about Addis Ababa, the capital city of Ethiopia. Now, many people call it as the capital city of Africa, not attributing it to Ethiopia, but they call it the capital city of Africa. As the reason why I'm friend the capital city of Africa, if newsroom can get me video two, giving us the beauty of Addis Ababa, young comrade, and the better story.
Yeah, I feel very proud on this big project. This is the Ethiopian sovereign project indeed. We all Ethiopians are contributed from very minimum thing to the huge amount.
Please go on until we're able to bring you video 2, please.
Okay, now the video 2 shows videos, pictures, short clips of the beauty Addis Ababa and showcase it to Africans. Very advanced technology in terms of infrastructure. Skyscrapers.
Allow me to say this once again a little louder for those of you in the back. The future is African.
This is Addis Ababa, bro. And you don't want to see this at night because the entire city lights up at night. This is Addis Ababa. But we're filming at night time, and you don't think what we're seeing is so beautiful?
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
How do you feel knowing that your city lights up at night?
So beautiful, I love it.
You love it?
Yeah.
Oh, a big round of applause to the people of this beautiful country, man.
I'm happy that the Honorable Gisela Tete, Deputy Minister for Works and Housing, is in the chamber today. Recently, I was with her in Addis Ababa, and the trip that took us from our hotel to the AU headquarters, we talked about nothing but town development. They are building at the city, they are conscious of the road, 3-4 lane roads in Addis with walkways where pedestrians, where the ordinary Ethiopian can also walk. But I saw the walkways were equal to one road. It's not this corner things that we do in this country. Space. And we saw couples holding hands and walking. And we saw Ethiopians walking in their city. Mr. Speaker, we don't walk in this country because there's nowhere to walk.
Like I said, Africans deserve better, and it's about time for us to build our cities together.
Yes, Russ. Can you hear me, Russ?
I can hear you. Go on.
Nice one. The part of the speech na woman no ekano. The yamida say we don't work in Africa. We mean 19 in Africa. And not on a literal basis said you work no. But it depends in contrast with the kind of roles we do in Africa. Ghana especially. We mean 19 to be some namumi and no more 90 say as a more 90 said the this is in future. But if you have working on the major roads, we mean that space, because one, baby, a pavement, I was say, Lipa Efano, a pedestrian roads, a don't form Magia at Aboso, a one or more time, dear. Once a more, it becomes politics. Two, baby, no parking spaces, and wasn't can you pay Jinaqua waiting for cars, no more picky crowd, Yakobe, or more trot drivers out of careless driving. Almost so if you look as if said the city I choked with no proper planning, no proper discipline, and obia this is the beauty of Addis Ababa. Not just the beauty of it, but the rules in Omayano. In the speech of the minister, she said, even the walkways in our corpus in Namsonokrano, it is even bigger or larger than.
Hello.
Radio culture.
Yeah.
She said, even the walkways in our pedestrians, it is even bigger than our major roads in our double roads, those pedestrian roads in quite bigger than them. And you ask yourself, what are we doing? The leaders, contracts, edema contractors, so mama may acquire from my what are they doing? I remember 3-4 years ago, Kaneshi, quine within that first month, a heavy downpour, pay the roads no my escrabo ne tisa si say mo amunim emu ase no mudi mo no ya wawa emu ase ekwan no wipe no. Now the question is it because Ethiopia according to history was not colonized intina or motima ye niema bi say na that is the question. I would want us to dissect and digest into that. Now yenhwe say eno so kan ho bia because in history we all know say Ethiopia and Liberia the two countries they were never colonized in Ghana. According to history, in the late 90s, that was in the 1896, that was when Italy decided to invade Ethiopia. But according to the then emperor, Manelik II, and it taking charge with a military strength and clever diplomacy. On the Omo fight here, Ama Italy and taking the land of Ethiopia. But during the Second World War, no, they came back again in 1935. These people came back again. But Omontimi invaded the whole land of Ethiopia, but they took certain parts of Ethiopia. But after that time, in Impokrano, so the emperor also taking over was able to fight with the Italians, and they went in 1941. So during that time, it took only 5 years, and the Italian military, they stay over there. In history, nature say colonization, it takes more than 5 years. Into Omodian, they don't see it as a Western influence and Western colonization. And in history, I can say Ethiopia was never colonized. Into the question is it as a result of that unity? And I'm more must stay focused without the influence of the Western side. No, I'm more much a develop it that faster now. And mind you, it happens to be the headquarters of AU. In almost all our African leaders in especially this year, the 39th African Union Summit, and when it happened here in Ethiopia, our president was there. It's not the first video now you play here now. He was the one talking from the beginning. The voice Nana Airborne as the voice over said, the new world is Africa. The question is, what about the other African countries? Ethiopia is in the eastern side. We have the Western Africans, the north and the other parts. But it looks as if some countries here, especially maybe the Ghana, in terms of infrastructure development, we are falling as in the area. So the question is it because Europeans, colonize India? Ras, that is my question before I move on.
Interesting point. Before you move on, a few things to consider. Ethiopia,
Yes.
ancient nation. Mamen Kancho, Ocean Bible more. Ethiopia is the first nation to be mentioned, which is still a nation. Go and check.
Yes.
Go and check. Because when, according to the biblical, account, Nyankopon Ebo Wiase, there were 4 rivers which were running through the Garden of Eden. And also one of them was called the Gihon River. And that river, the Bible says, ran through the entire land of Ethiopia. And Ethiopia was mentioned in the very first book of the Bible, a very ancient way. Now, Omaibisa, Obiaso Antimi and Conquer Omoda, ever, right? Now, Omo Etimia Kwa Babi do this point, no. The point I'm making is, it's not because of European influence and Ethiopia at the way, because Ethiopia was never colonized by Europe, right? Ethiopia is showing an original story coming out of an original place. You can't Ghanaians say because will be the British influenced us. They influenced our architecture. They influenced our whatnots, our politics, whatnots. Ethiopia was never colonized. Ethiopia was taken over very briefly by some guy called Benito Mussolini, and he ended up very badly for that thing. Previously, now another Italian invasion had tried to invade Ethiopia, the Adwa War. Go and research that also, how it ended for them. They ended up very badly. Ethiopia is a proud to fly. Now, the Emideni say, apart from everything else now, almost standing for historical, they are now also producing an economic and an infrastructural model for Africa to follow. Because Minister, you still have more to say. But when we go in deeper, I'll have more to say about how they got to where they are. But before that, let me end my input with this. If you come from my generation, think about something called Live Aid Africa, if you ever knew about that. Live Aid Africa. And then compare that to the Ethiopia of today. Then who said dreams come true, not just dreams, but visions can be accomplished. When we were growing up, when we were in secondary school, when we were in, latter part of primary school and stuff like that, Everywhere you look, the boy Ethiopia, the image was that of hunger, starving Africa. Like when they want to say Africans are starving, the signboard was Ethiopia. Every time you heard Ethiopia in the news, a starving child, Bronibia Kosonisa, or Patrol say, yeah, Manu Bibi. Let me see if I can, Newsroom, see if you can find a picture for me, please, of Live Aid Africa. There's this artist called Bono. Bono's biggest claim to fame is that he organized Live Aid Africa, where they were playing music to gather money to go and feed the starving masses of Africa. That was the thing. That Ethiopia was like a basket case for the rest of the world to feed Lala Sula. What you say? Just a few decades later, look at Ethiopia. Where is the Live Aid Africa? Ethiopia will give money to another country if they need it right now. It's been such a transformation, But we'll talk about the other stuff later because, like I said, I know you have more to say about this. So please take it away. And then we'll come back and talk a little more about Ethiopia and the great transformation that it's experiencing right now.
All right. Now,
Culture.
Nice one. Pure culture. Let's move on from where you ended. The Agile war that you were talking about, the Battle of Aja that you were talking about happening in 1896. That was during the time the Italians, wanted to invade Ethiopia the first time. Continue from there, Let's look at the reason why I keep on saying is it as a result of European influence, immunity, and now the reason is they have mastered the courage of pure patriotism as to how they are able to combine their resources, as to how they are able to join heads together through their own contribution and develop something for themselves without relying on IMF, the World Bank, or whatever, as we Ghanaians, we always want to look up to. And Sanya Pesi no. One more they don't wait for any Western influence to be together finance for them and send they are able to do something for themselves internally. And that has been the reason why now currently they have the largest in Africa. If Newsroom can get me that video, that video, a little bit documentary about that and what the indigenous Ethiopians said about the dam.
I feel very proud on this big project. This is an Ethiopian sovereign project indeed. We all Ethiopians are contributed from very minimum thing to the huge amount. On this dam, there is no contribution of any international organizations. There is no money of IMF, no money of World Bank, nothing. This is the real property of Ethiopians.
I really want to know what makes this dam the biggest dam in the entire Africa.
This dam is, in terms of length, 1.8 kilometer. Its height is on average 145 meters, and on maximum it reaches 170 meters. It consumes 10.7 million cubic meters of concrete. And with this height, the dam can store 74 billion meter cube of water, or equivalent to 74 trillion liters of water. So this makes one of the largest dams in Africa in terms of volume.
Beautiful. Beautiful. The facts are clear for us to understand. Say, we started with something. Yentimi Ansu Manfanye Bibia from 2019, 2020, 2021. Not to sound political on the aspect, it looks as if the era of a certain political party being in American system. But I just want to state emphatically, if Ethiopia internally a generative fund to build this kind of dam, na etimi ababa something remarkable, we talk of, and idea betimi abwa or mine in the near future. Eba the same, and after Corona, we share they say or mining to me baby. Let's start with something. We introduce betting tax, we introduce levy and whatever taxes. But at the end, it's me the year. It is anka. Yes, we are this year. Did certain man is GT said the Ethiopia GG yana. He bet him the BBC yana. These are some of the questions. Emma, me Roma is over certain things. I mean, here. And mind you, this is the same country. Well, Kaswanutia, Haile Selassie, a ruler as empire from 1930 to 1974. It tells you the kind of leaders that they are giving to themselves. Any the reason why they are where they are today. Ras, if you have more, I am listening.
I have a whole lot more, but I don't want to steal your show. So I'll just say a little bit, But Ethiopia is also the first African country to have its own national airline. And from that time till now, Ethiopian Airlines is one of the best airlines in the world. No question about it. No question about it.
Airlines, the third originator of coffee.
His Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie introduced Ethiopian Airlines. And till now, Ethiopian Airlines is one of the best airlines. I compare with the Lufthansa and the Swiss and whatnots. What I said, check Ethiopian Airlines.
Yeah, a restaurant. Ghana Airways here, that done a restaurant.
There you go. But apart from that, also, let's look at the question of how they raise that money. That's not what happened, though. Let me explain what happened to you. Oko Washington, D.C. Ethiopia has a huge diaspora presence over there. Synergy, there are parts of Washington, D.C. And then Ethiopians there. I am telling you.
Okay. Wow.
They control a lot of wealth on so many areas. Oba Abuja, certain normal be on my find so some coffee in a control. Oko New Yorker, or Momoye Barbes, or Momuchetri, Ufi Dominican Republic, you already have a foot ahead of everybody else. They control that area, right? Certain things, go find the restaurants near there. Oko Washington, D.C. Ethiopians control a huge chunk of the restaurant business. What I say? And they've been able to market Ethiopian food to the point where people will go out as a family to go and eat Ethiopian food as something they would love to do. Clear example is myself. Maybe I don't eat out too much. I don't often eat out at all. But on my birthday, to give me a treat, my family made us drive all the way to Dallas so we can go and eat Ethiopian food. What I say? Yankesi yakwa restaurant bi akeke. Yepe Ethiopian food. Wow. What I'm saying is Ethiopian food is a brand. Taxi business within Washington, D.C., a large chunk of it is controlled by the Ethiopians.
Wow.
And when it comes, and the investment market, America say, they have a lot of investments in there as Ethiopians. What the government did is that they found these people and asked them to invest their money not in the bonds and normal motor outside, no, but in their own Ethiopia.
Wow.
What I say? You are a rich investor, B. They are buying you out. Oh, this be the person where they own all these taxi fleets and things for America, no, for this, Oh, okay. Oh, this is one. Then they own all this. Oh, okay. They built a team of people like that with heavy investment capabilities. What I say? And then they asked them to invest in the dam. And it's the Sombeko IMF for $3 billion. Like our feckless leaders were doing a short while ago, no. They will source that $3 billion from their own citizens so that they don't have to readjust and kick people out of jobs for that. You see what's going on here? So it's a leadership, man. It's leadership. And I'm happy that you started that clip with John Mahama saying that the future is African. Because if I look at John Mahama's policies, I'm also seeing something along those lines. But we need to see it at a more accelerated rate. And now let's go back to the roads. New York City has one of the busiest street hawkers you ever find anywhere. Oh, a John Forma. Oh, New York City, Omuguho Papa.
Oh, okay.
It's not a joke, but it's regulated. You get a license, and they show you exactly when and where you can be, and how what you have to do after you've left that spot. It's be license. Say me license with Madam Fu Nasir. Get in touch if you can hear me, Nasir. Please, I haven't heard from you in a while. But yeah, Nasir, for instance, had a license to go out in the city and sell. He had his days, and on those days, he will go there. He will mount his stall. He will sell whatever he has to sell. The regulation is that you have to clean, you have to do this, you have to do that. So city neighbor back, they know who was there at that time. So who they have to charge for the dirt that they have to clean. It's a job for man. Apart from the government building the markets for them and stuff like that, if some of them want to stay on the streets, there's a way of doing it so that they don't take over the space. The other thing is that Oko New York, your bike lanes and your pedestrian lanes, right? Into your cars no more, but people who bike or when you lane wo into your no nip card in a preso. Won't that be channel? And you know be on Nancy and a preso. It do say also bikes in a cross here, they will stop everybody for the bikes to cross. It do say they stop everybody for Nipa to cross. New York City speed limit at 25 miles per hour. That is crazy. Maybe at Texas, when I'm driving at 25, I'm like, how was I even driving in New York? Because 25 miles there. Only 25 miles in Texas are. But there are certain regulations that it makes the city move. It makes things move. And Ethiopia has found the key. Once a short while ago, we used to talk about Rwanda. Oh, Paul Kagame, Rwanda. Yeah. The new kid on the block is Ethiopia. And like I'm saying again, for me, coming from my generation, it gladdens my heart to see that Live Aid Africa has now turned into a lighted up city that everybody wants to go to. And then the crowning glory is that it didn't take any white man's investment to do this. It took local intellect. It took local energies. It took local funding to do this. I'm so proud of Ethiopia Cinergy. I can't lie.
Exactly. Nicely put. But I think our problem is how we are able to politicize whatever we do in this country, that is Ghana. As to this lancing thing that you were talking about, Yedema Hawkers, if any government under this kind of governance and democracy that we are practicing today dares to implement that thing, Ras, I tell you, it will be fire. It will be a box of insults to that specific politician, Corona, Yato Obama, or your president, because we feel and we think, we want change, but that change shouldn't come from us. I will say, feel will be war.
Sasem we President Mahama Kokayo Nyasem, Timoma Memin Kamano, Hitasem the Bar Nabana. Also, you join Funo on Srosikai. Okokama for you don't want that goat.
Aye.
Who a leader? That's also Sekanya. And that's also this kind of things. Oh, yes. Brooklyn Bridge. Brooklyn Bridge. Massive bridge. Omo yeno. Omo di ma obi. Eno dwene hu se na me ama for krampo fu se ade we die o hwe nsem kra no mo kan about it ama for se na bonsam kra djuma na kwa we pese obeye. Like there was so much talk against the Brooklyn Bridge. Omo amman na nipa no oye den o see bridge ni till today ufi Bronx eko Brooklyn na be faso across alcohol ufi hustle bar well that me person it's serving the city of New York, Manhattan, whatever. So sometimes it takes a few people to plan something and execute it, and then the other people will see the benefits later. What you say?
Yes.
Let them insult you. Later on, we'll find out, say, oh, it was a good thing. Because if you have people who are regulated, you know what that does? So mema kwa kutua fees, they are mama heart now. Ultimately, if you baby metna ha won't your fees ni be my main for mention wo. Aha, there will be self-regulation. I will hold Nankasakra. Mema kutua 100 cedis for the week. Say memetna ha. Ya sanka chem say hana meteno. Me sorry ya wasa be praha. Na me wash. What you say? Aha. Enti no mete ha, baby so mete no. Ya make sure say baby I dey ma me na ho na mete. Baby I mete so it doesn't block human traffic.
Okay.
One there no. And they have a license, and then the license is getting the city, some revenue to also do what they have to do. But the main thing is that I am regulated. See, horses in Ponkoya or Mochin KTB, there were groups, animal lovers, who went to the city and said, no, you're treating Ponkoni, so they should pull the Ponkoni off the street. People made a case and no, it's a you can't say. It's part of the social fabric of New York. So of course it's in the more who ponko take Uber to carriage na ponko. They couldn't agree to take the horses off the street. They just agreed, okay, treat them better, right? Making sure they are well watered or more shoes near the motion and whatnot. Uber call her normal damn pig street so. But still, somebody will come and clean it up. And yes, it's part of the city. And it's finally said necessary, say, I was say, Nipatina sidewalk, so then regulate that. But the government is also building the bigger markets, so people can go to the bigger markets. Because Oti Hoswa, and you be a bit near town was sidewalk, so mind you. And this is another thing. And yes, I'll bet you what sock report. Na wo ton sebe gobe what sidewalk ye nyane sa ye wo normal betimi aton wo so that the city flows. But again, one last thing, Cinergy, I hate to talk more than you do because it's your show, this segment of the thing. But another thing is we have to start planning way ahead. Ghana, if you be a bar na ye kwanya ye nya gota nka ho. Right? And then as an afterthought, later on, maybe I never buy a gota. These days, you won't say a plan or say a plan de gota come. Sunday, when you said by this Kasa come the pictures be Baba show. Cinergy, almost year overpass. And your overpass is actually, almost year interchange. I will say, baby. No, almost the tubes be about be go on aligning up the whole maybe school no about be jiho. And almost some big tubes. And I say, that's how they there. Unim. Omo lay cables, omo lay pipes, omo lay electric whatever, omo lay internet whatever, everything. And son of CBBR. Who da me channel? But Ghana obo wona kekwa ko CBBR channel say bebu bigu. Some interchange. Me say sir former regional minister. Some lame excuse be normal the other day say, oh Kumasi pipes no ho na nam into the chair babe nonsense. But let's say even if that's the case, and that's what I'm saying, you also are planning ahead. You see stores now, yes, have we factored in toilets? And say basic stores, we are saying, oh, toilets anymore. Okay, you can see KVIP. That be kind. No, you factor that in ahead of time. Ethiopia planned to have wide streets for people to walk on. It is a planning a city there. It's not me that see a new capital, no. I say to be planning BBI about factor into all of these things. High-speed trains. It's a person in a modern capital. We can't build a high-speed train system in Accra. Well, maybe we can. I don't know. I'm not an engineer. But maybe a sky the best idea. No, you better me build a new capital like Nigeria did. They built Abuja, and Abuja is a very modern city now. You better me Sunyani, ho baby. Sunyani has the space. Tamale has the space. Somewhere in the western region, maybe if we want to be closer to the sea as a seaport, right? But let's find space and build a brand new city altogether. I think that President Mahama has mentioned that also. And I hope it's one of the things he can start, at least if he can't finish it in part, start before he leaves office. And when he's doing that, I want to see that they are planning these things with the state-of-the-art ideas in mind. New York, Yaya Kwai Afa in Suase Akopie, New Jersey. And your bridge. bridge no ho and yasan ye kwan tunnel afa inso na se e dia ko pie New Jersey uremo New York we be na wo different states. Oh damn it, we have to think along these lines, build things future generations will be amazed by. Because you see, I am amazed by the Brooklyn Bridge. Michelle Brooklyn Bridge. Michelle the nine back page now.
Yes.
The nine back page. I now share the size now. Obitimi dreaming at that time to do that. No, we at this time have to dream 10 times that for the future generations to amaze them. And yes, I ain't just future generations will still be amazed at the normal now. A year 100 years ago. No, I'm just saying. Back to you, Cinergy. Minister was something else.
All right. Now, with all these that we're putting across, one is, I was say leaders, especially as you mentioned, John Dramani Mahama. One, no, the term of office. Let's not talk here about any third term. I think he has to leave an example. Now, Oti Asema Yehuni said, he has nothing to lose. Say, or running for the next election, So yeah, dear na Rebecca Wasema, and no should put fear in him. It was also holding on certain things. The only thing obeying elevates a legacy of there was a leader who never cared about say Obi Betwa Betty and was making a change in Ghana. That is what I was saying. And it is good for us to say, or no, about someone a bit in like I said, Uncle Bib, he has nothing to lose. But the legacy can be a beneficiary to NDC. If only said you do be papa nkwadia, it can be beneficiary to the next flag bearer that they will bring him on board. Just as NPP and Lucky Yenintino, Baumia didn't get anything credibility on the side of Ghanaians. I did too, no. Mahama has to do that to effect that changes, Now, too, this regulation thing that you are talking about, how can Ghanaians, women on the streets are being charged. They pay tickets for them to have the opportunity to sell along the road. Pavement, they charge them. They pay whatever be a TBR. So the question is, what happens to those monies, After taking those money from them, a omuvia no moja ball egu hono ye jisika ne se jisika na ne je na ye de na ewie aka twom se ye be ma obi aba be fa ball ama wana. All this is part of the regulation. I am sure say the awoka one said they have been charged no omunya license to be there no. This regulation is specifying the sikana wutia no. And you know, sikana wutia doesn't cover sanitation, whatever, until you clean your own mess. And if that thing is also done to our mothers now, next time so abano and cleaning oho a 1 year, someone will take over. It's next time we'll be cleaning and san wako. The next thing is acquire your first your roots. What do we have in mind and sani acquiring? Is it because of politics? And you be see acquiring bintin a yan a or do we have a future plan? Well, look at this on the screen. Yetimi ya kwan ansa ne yakwa baba badwene ho se aha hia gata ansa ne abeya gata no. But a well-developed country, leaders with vision will never do this because they know they are not serving the current people but the next generation. And for you to so obebo ekane na echina besan so about the same kano. What is the essence in that? Because tomorrow will be more than a kana born and no. Intino bosa kanene do something better today and leave it for the next generation. But that is what we lack. Yɛnyɛ saa hwɛ ɛkwan a yɛayɛ de asi hɔ nom yɛnkɔ sofo line. Are you aware say up to date yɛayɛ sofo line for over 10 years nie still na sofo line yɛnwie but yɛgu so use sofo line aseɛ hɔ nom nyinaa asɛ wɔ sɛ the way ɛwɔ sɛ ɛsi yɛ no it has not been done to its completion but yɛgu so use sofo line. So why na ɛwɔ sɛ yɛ in charge of nneɛma bi sei ye discuss Kushima because of say a meme part in a year until we leave it like that. But it all boils down to leadership. Look at what we are seeing right now. Look at how our traffic in a flow will be. The stretch is wide open in the sense it say nipa na mu aha obi enu mo beka kire nyonko say trotro batwe ho obi kwaka obi nto segu form inti ye bebo no. Now the other thing has to do with one more or motor nema wo kwan ho no. How are we regulating those people? Ne say nya die bia na ba besi kwan ho. Adia betimi aprosei amebegu kwan no ho ama decent aba no. We shouldn't allow those people no so beton wo kwan ho. So beton no kwan ho dia wo wi a wo se o clean that mess ni because e be pro ama gata ni mabon. E bi kra wie pia gu gata ni, they leave it there and go. All these are part of the regulations we have to do. So Ethiopia is doing something remarkable, as you said, a model for Africa. So we just have to look on that model, no. Who say a war money it make us Ethiopia is the new face there. We have to also acquire that new face, I think Accra as 70 purpose away, being the capital city of Ghana, 70 purpose away. As you said, you develop a new capital city. Name more because that place is even choked. So okay, say oh baba year changes to honor Mrs. No home. Damage control any sika will be in terms of say over selling for properties. Now they yes and man, so they go developing new places. That is all what I think I was here this year. We move to the
All
other
right.
story. If I have the
Okay.
chance to move on.
Time that's why I'm saying you have one more story, right? You have a couple
Yeah,
minutes.
one more story there. And there, I just brushing, I'm brushing off now. We are all aware, say, Yaw Sarpong, and no on no ankasa, music deal, ma mitiwa. This year the Yantia Sempa. From last year, basically this year there. Lost lives, outdoors. These people, or more free. 19 fee a year, Yaw Sarpong, the 1 week, Na idea a shocking for it's music, or musica, or muko 2 D's and Shabody during the 1 week, I generated a lot of conversations. A body like music, the kinds of cobonsa, the legend, a gospel legend like the Yaw Sarpong, a yase, 500 Ghana cedis. Yesterday, I listened to the president of music, and I watched him say, and yes, body, and no boy. It was just amount how much they may bushing so or more fan support or money maybe, but yes, body. But I think, say, to be on the safer side and be more intellectual about this whole conversation, and yes, it can be any 2D. Where he has it, and that's a program, I say. So
That's
if
the
you
summary
knew
of it
that
all.
Sikano is not worth the occasion, a brewa. Why
That's the,
go there, grab a mic and announce it?
that's the summary of it
I
all.
didn't hear. And
What
that
can
is all what I can say about it. For those saying say it is beyond them, whatever, not there, they are entitled to their opinion. But the whole thing is, said their musical president actually say, "O man for says can uncle bonsa, but my family so mon for supporting." Nan kwasan find the right channel no this is kind of fast but not so about that announcement but the year there it's a disgrace to music no matter the explanation that they will give the omogufu pa. That is what I can say for now. Ras.
you share video no quick? Now me mama reaction after
All
your
right.
answer.
Yadamasi
All right.
Abaya, yes, I once sent him crown or Posan Sim. Young Brato, ye, Yabusia, at you an amompi. Yakwa Bemu Akobo, ye ministry no amania. I fear young Chassis Abako, Flagstaff House. Now, ye chief of staff, any president Akasa. No, will be on mine, no, everything dear Guama, Yemia Yaw Sarpong. Na yeno adimuno yetumi aye amana yesa na yebaya yekura some 500 Ghana cedis abusuafo antoawem na yede twen ayeno ba musica sanya president akam yebetina ye naso na aye amana yefe.
Since when the president of Musica, Unim,
Mr. Simons.
Mr. Simon, better seriously. Anyhow, I mean, need much to say. I'm what can you add that? Senka one more Scanidian. Meaning Jindy, to be honest with you, mean Jindy said and yen sa body. Me Jindy said my dream and then sa body. Senko be
Because
uncashed.
Ras forgive me now beginning once obu baby share ho say once na ni hwe kura no oposa ni nsem that a bene kire we say the intent was in sabode
So,
that bene obu share ho no
I qualified it to be inside body. I have a different
exactly.
to be honest with you. I have a different opinion on that. My opinion
Okay,
is
and then we do.
say, or Pache say, Sisia, Samia baby, ye nishi cry na munji way fan shake. I mean, it's open to let's just one who say maybe you'll be a menu cancer. Mama 60, na mema for 40 no. Won't that be channel? That's a me move for maybe 40 no or about 60 in one after you say, oh, yeah, right? So that way. But me feel still assembling in an wakano. And yes, can be on your body. And yes, can be on your body. Anything near what I can forward Cassidy say, Buemwa dear.
Yes.
What you say? Sabi oko hini fie na okochena dia ye modi. Ese buemu ade. Eno so hina kasa ko bie so ani wehu se sen na ode ma no. No wehu ni paban a wo ye. Akoi no kokoti nyina the 1,000 pedeship. Buemu ade. Eti ko betimi abodin se eye buemu ade. Even so mo intent ni se ebeye ye kan say insabodie po no a. Ko betimi kan say oh yedi ade kakra buemu ade e de ama ebusuan so mo fan wo hu da mete na echire no ekwan be mu a mayinti ade ni ye afi na me badge into almost 60 no mayinti sad mayinti we bio because now I'm not convinced sir mayinti ade bio newsroom please
yala mwasi ya baya yese awansa ni wilkra no opposite nsem.
Okay.
Young brato ye ni abusia atu anamompi. Yakwa aban mu akobo ye ministry no amane. Afi ye shesi ye beko Flagstaff House. Na ye ni chief of staff any president akasa. Na mwebi oman no ebetim dia boama ye nua Yaw Sarpong. Na ye no adi mu no yetumi aye amana ye saa. Na ye baya Ukraine some 500 Ghana cities. I put your fan to a room. Now they train a year no bar musica. Send your president come. You bet you now and ask for now your amana free.
Major 41 synergy. Major 41 or say or more they train a year no. And to say ye bar. Meaning say ye bar musica everybody be sound bon sabio. That's my understanding.
Yes.
That's my understanding. And you know, yes, I'm out for me. I catch your more say the antennas are on.
We did just come for Bobo Sian on the born sound. But you are expecting much.
The born sana, Moonlucky sharp, got 500 there. But again, an American, Nankini Senko or 500 DD. What may I don't want to take the shine off what you said. You just said it all. Nankini so or bought 500 did Nanko say, oh, you be big kakra, it was some fun shade. Nanko de Akana Twaso, say ye bar, you know. But from what he said, though, my benefit of the doubt said a ye bar will also see music again. I no. And there's some more but 2 years who say yes, music be ma Yaw Sarpong ebusiano 500,000, not 500. Okay, 500, and he said 1,000 name after them I say. Me try bear 5 seconds, 1,000 name mother. What think I get 1,000 about to us?
Yeah, 2,000 at what? Yeah, I can't say 3 zeros, you know.
3 zeros, mother. Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Yeah, sorry. So last one.
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, just as I said, you know, for them to use that a binocular should have been a proper way. Say, oh, Ukraine say movie being Busiano. Yeah, they to not to mention the name or whatever, no. And no cry a more respectable way. I will be Bomu at the end said the city. Nanka music, music at the envelope call you. Nka will be amount is saying on the call. This a Busiani mu concerning the Becca say, you be
synergy. I know so Nanki Busiamo concern be Becca say, Omunja was 500.
No quite doubt it.
Nanka bloggers a payday.
Yes. And also some people would doubt. And also it's up to you. It's up to you, music as and you leave it to them.
Yeah.
Nanka ayesebe unnecessary conversation on the street in Kenko Babia. Banka, you take your sign. Nkabeji sign no. But I think the push off the pakra wa J Mike na okasa ya the man music ano. Actually say the intent was more bonsa. They wanted to take the shine. They wanted to take the glory on that particular day. And he said, Omaba. No more kwakwasi a ye no, or mukwaji a ye next woman also. and they want to do something remarkable for the legend. I know. Share. Ankoye. Kasa de. Ye depend on the kasa. Ankoye. Now the last one, no yeah. Some people are saying, say, Mami Tiwa, and Yaw Sarpong ye no. Nanka busha mienu ne nkyena se no monwene ho. Na nkomo mienu no. Ya nyo mo stage barrier. Nka no mo be solid pa. And so Ras who ni say. But to me, Mimi who ni say.
No
The
state
busha mienu no. Trust
no
in him,
state
they shouldn't try.
some
The
of
trust
me
in him.
Bible or me Bible no ma be your it will be such a resounding statement, right? Because where you nipa me nubia or more lives no their lives met at a point, and from then on it looks like the life of one depended on the other. A very beautiful story in terms of all the tragedy and everything. Offer Yaw Sarpong, Mamitiwa a story now. From the time they met, it looks as if someone by a tripod. Without one, the other cannot stand. When would I mention? Their lives are meshed like that. And if they are thinking of having a joint funeral, me expecting those areas, but it will be nice. Again, we share the economics and everything of it now. Maybe not, because Yaw Sarpong family person back cash in, and Tiwa's family person also back cash in. And maybe they want to hold it separately so they can multiply the income or the whatnot. But that said, I think it's a very beautiful gesture. But for the state burial aspect, what have they done to deserve a state burial? I'm not saying that they've achieved enormous feats, the two of them. But you can say yes, I don't know. As a yardstick for state burial, there will be a whole lot of people who would need to be given a state burial. What am I perceiving? It is a chipping. That's one of my beef against the former government. When they did that awards, being almost SWA awards, just threw it on people like what a minister or SWA board, the big good ministry of a man award. Let's not chipping it like that. Let's not chipping it like that. Let's let the state represent, to show, say, we all as a people, we acknowledge the input of Yaw Sarpong in the area of music, the arts and culture, right? But say Yaw Sarpong, yeah, man state burial. Nana, a whole lot of people more would deserve state burials. And then the significance of the state burial will become watered down. And I agree with everything apart from the state burial part. I don't think that they should be giving state burials, with all due respect.